Right, so let me get this straight. You wake up, scroll through your phone, see a headline screaming that Nigel Farage has been arrested by the Met Police, your tea goes cold, your toast burns, and you think, finally, 2025 is getting interesting. But then, plot twist, he wasn't arrested at all. He's been cleared. Completely. No charges, no court date, no dramatic perp walk in handcuffs. Just another day in British politics where the headlines write checks the facts can't cash. Welcome back to UK Political Insights, where we cut through the noise, serve you the truth with a side of sass, and remind you that in Westminster, reality is often stranger than satire. Today we're diving into the Nigel Farage election expenses saga that had Labour salivating, the media in overdrive, and Reform UK sharpening their legal knives. Buckle up because this one's a roller coaster that starts with accusations, takes a sharp turn through whistleblowers and armoured Land Rovers, and ends with Essex Police basically saying, "Sorry, we're closed." Let's get into it. So here's where it all kicks off. 2 weeks ago, a former Reform UK councillor named Richard Everett drops what he thinks is a political bombshell. He claims he's got documents, proper receipts and paperwork, showing that Nigel Farage overspent during his campaign to win the Clacton seat in last year's general election. Now, election spending limits are sacred in British politics. Well, sacred in theory. In practice, they're more like speed limits on the motorway. Everyone knows they exist, most people ignore them, and nobody gets pulled over unless they're doing something spectacularly stupid. But Everett reckons Farage crossed the line. Big time. We're talking around $9,000 worth of unaccounted costs, including, and I cannot stress this enough, an armoured Land Rover. Yes, you heard that right, an armoured Land Rover, because apparently campaigning in Clacton is like navigating Fallujah. I mean, I know the seagulls down there are aggressive, but come on. Now, the legal limit for election spending in a constituency is 20,660 quid. Sounds like a lot, doesn't it? But in reality, modern campaigning eats through cash faster than a pensioner at a post office counter. You've got leaflets, posters, social media ads, staff wages, battle buses, and apparently, if you're Nigel Farage, a vehicle that could survive a rocket-propelled grenade. The accusation here is that Farage didn't declare these costs properly. If true, that would have been a serious breach of the Representation of the People Act in 1983, which is the dusty old rulebook that governs how elections are supposed to work in this country. Breaking those rules can land you in court, get your election voided, and generally ruin your whole political vibe. So whenever it comes forward with his dossier, the opposition parties, especially Labour, practically trip over themselves to pile on. Enter Anna Turley, chair of the Labour Party, who wastes absolutely no time demanding that Farage come out of hiding and explain himself. Now, I love this phrasing, come out of hiding, like Nigel's been living in a bunker somewhere, surviving on Tesco meal deals and paranoia. The man's got a show on GME News. He's all over social media. He's about as hidden as Big Ben. But Turley wants answers, and Labour smells blood in the water. They're thinking, right, we've got him now. Farage, the man who's built an entire career on calling out the establishment, caught red-handed breaking the rules himself. The irony is delicious. It's the kind of story that writes itself. Reform UK leader, champion of the common man, supposedly rigging his own campaign finances while lecturing everyone else about corruption and accountability. You couldn't script it better if you tried. But here's where the story takes its first sharp turn. Nigel Farage, unsurprisingly, denies everything. Vehemently, he's not having any of it. Reform UK comes out swinging, calling Richard Everett a disgruntled former councillor with an axe to grind. They claim Everett was kicked out of the party back in August over allegations of sexually inappropriate behavior in the office. Now, Everett strenuously denies those allegations, so we're not here to litigate who's telling the truth about that particular mess. But Reform's strategy is clear. Attack the source, question the motives, muddy the waters. Whether it's fair or not, it's effective. Meanwhile, Essex Police are handed the case. They're the ones responsible for investigating because Clacton falls under their jurisdiction. Now imagine being the poor detective who gets assigned this one. You're sitting there with your coffee, thinking you'll spend the day dealing with shoplifters and minor traffic offenses, and then your boss drops the Farage file on your desk. Right, Constable, you're going to investigate whether a member of Parliament and one of the most famous politicians in the country broke election law. No pressure. So Essex Police start looking into it. Labour's waiting, the media circling, and Reform UK is probably lawyering up harder than a Hollywood divorce. This thing has all the ingredients of a proper political scandal. Accusations, denials, armoured vehicles, and the one-year countdown ticking in the background. Because here's the kicker, and this is where the whole thing falls apart. The Representation of the People Act 1983, the very law that Everett claims Farage broke, has a statute of limitations. 1 year. That's it. If you want to prosecute someone for breaking election spending rules, you've got 12 months from the date of the election to do it. After that, the clock runs out, game over, case closed. The general election that saw Farage finally win his seat in Clacton happened on July 4th, 2024. Fast forward 1 year and we hit July 4th, 2025. The whistleblower comes forward 2 weeks ago, which is December 2025. Do the math. The statute of limitations expired months ago. Essex Police take one look at the calendar, realize there's literally nothing they can do even if Farage did break the rules, and issue a statement saying, yeah, no, we can't investigate this. It's outside the statutory time limit. Now, let me just pause here for a second because this is absolutely wild. If the allegations were true, if Farage really did overspend $9 grand and failed to declare it, it wouldn't matter. Not legally anyway, because the law says you've got 1 year to bring charges, and that deadline passed. It's like finding out someone robbed a bank, but the surveillance footage got deleted after 13 months, so you just have to shrug and move on. The whole thing becomes an academic exercise. Labour is furious, obviously. They've spent weeks hammering Farage over this, calling for investigations, demanding accountability, and now they're told the police can't even touch it. Anna Turley must have been fuming. You spent all that time building up the narrative, the press is eating it up, and then Essex Police basically say, sorry mate, you're too late. But wait, it gets better. The Electoral Commission, which is the independent body that oversees elections and makes sure everyone's playing fair, they get involved too. Labour had written to them, asking them to investigate whether Farage's campaign finances were dodgy. The commission looks into it, does their due diligence, and comes back with their own conclusion. After careful consideration, they say they failed to identify any expenditure relating to Farage's campaign in Clacton that should have been declared in Reform UK's national expenditure. Translation, they can't find any evidence that Farage did anything wrong. No hidden costs, no dodgy accounting, no smoking gun. The armoured Land Rover, the mysterious $9 grand, all of it? Not there. Or at least not in a way that breaks the rules. So now Labour's not just dealing with a police investigation that can't proceed because of a technicality, they're also dealing with the Electoral Commission saying, actually, we looked and we didn't find anything. That's a double whammy. It's one thing to lose a case on a technicality, but it's another thing entirely to have the referee come in and say, we checked the scoreboard and you were wrong from the start. For Farage, this is vindication. Total, absolute, unequivocal vindication. He's been cleared by Essex Police, he's been cleared by the Electoral Commission, and now he can turn around and say, I told you so, which, let's be honest, is probably his favorite thing to do. This is a man who thrives on being underestimated, attacked, and then proven right. It's his entire brand, and this story plays right into it. But let's zoom out for a second and talk about what this whole saga actually reveals about British politics, because there's more going on here than just one MP dodging a bullet. First, the statute of limitations on election offenses is bonkers. 1 year? That's it? Think about how long it takes for whistleblowers to come forward, for investigations to gather momentum, for evidence to surface. 1 year is nothing. It's a gift to anyone who knows how to run the clock. If you can just keep your head down for 12 months, you're golden. No consequences, no accountability, nothing. It makes the law feel less like a deterrent and more like a suggestion. And that's a problem, because if politicians know they can potentially break the rules and face no repercussions as long as they stall long enough, what's stopping them? Second, this whole thing highlights how politically charged these kinds of accusations are. Did Richard Everett genuinely believe he had evidence of doing wrong, or was he settling a score? We don't know. Reform UK says he's a disgruntled former councillor with an axe to grind. Everett strenuously denies those allegations, so we're not here to litigate who's telling the truth about that particular mess. But Reform's strategy is clear. Attack the source, question the motives, muddy the waters. Whether it's fair or not, it's effective. And third, this case is a reminder that Nigel Farage is basically Teflon. Nothing sticks to this guy. Brexit, expenses allegations, countless controversies over the years, and he just keeps bouncing back. His supporters love him because he's anti-establishment, and every time the establishment tries to take him down and fails, it only makes him stronger. This latest episode is just more fuel for that fire. Labour tried to get him, the police couldn't touch him, the Electoral Commission found nothing, and now he's back on his soapbox, louder than ever. It's almost impressive in a deeply frustrating way. So where does this leave us? Well, Nigel Farage is walking away from this completely unscathed. Essex Police closed the case before it even started, the Electoral Commission cleared him, and Labour's looking a bit silly for making such a big deal out of it. Reform UK hasn't officially commented yet, which is probably wise, because there's no need to gloat when your opponents have already done all the work for you. And Richard Everett, he's left holding the bag, his credibility in tatters, his accusations dismissed, and his motives questioned. Whether he was right or wrong, he's the one who comes out of this looking worse.